Hello everybody and welcome back to my series called Games Compared. Today I'll be assessing major UK bus games on these criteria: the scenery, the user interface, the general quality and the overall optimisation of the game. I'll be reviewing 6 games which are Ammanford, Apsley, Canterbury, Leeshire, Ostend and Swansea. To start off, Ammanford version 4 is one of the bigger games in the community. It has recently had an update featuring a scenery revamp which has seen entire places been done up, with a few others currently being worked on to keep them up to speed with the rest of the map. Firstly, I'll be talking about the scenery in this game. Ammanford recently had a major upgrade in the scenery department, which has led to a much better quality map, which is a lot nicer to drive around and less like an eyesore compared to other maps. Ammanford has successfully replaced a large amount of decal spam and generally low quality buildings with low poly and well built buildings around the map. I'll be giving Ammanford scenery an 8 out of 10 rating, as it is really well done, but they're unfinished and patchy the areas around the map. The general user interface on games in this community are quite mediocre compared to ones found in places like the train community. They seem to be rushed and badly scripted. The original intro GUI for Ammanford v4, which has now been removed due to script issues, was probably the best of the lot, to be honest. Bus games seem to be really on that idea, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which leaves very little room to do some fixing up in design and to innovate in their UIs, which sort of leaves me in the world of why you would do that when you're obviously behind other communities. Teaming and bus GUIs seem to be the only things that GUIs are useful in these games, and that just makes this area a bit hollow when I'm trying to mark games based on their UI, when there's barely anything to assess. Ammanford is probably the best of the bunch in this area, and it scores them a 7 out of 10. Now onto the general quality of the game. The scenery is great in Ammanford, as I said earlier, but I'll use this area to talk about the operators and what they bring to the table. In Ammanford there are 5 operators, being Adventurer, Courtney, TM Travel and Veolia. All the operators feature well built buses with a small inaccuracy here and there, and they could do with some smoothing in Blender, but all the operators are up to standard with their tech. Overall, the quality on Ammanford is good, although there is plenty of nitpicking to do with some of the things around in there. The quality scores it an 8 out of 10 for this section. Ammanford for a few can be quite an intensive game, owing to its size and detail. I normally get around 35 FPS in places such as the Ammanford train station, looking at the skyscrapers on max graphics. My computer specs will be in the description for reference. Although it has decent scenery and quality, some of that hasn't been optimised well enough. Lag can be caused by scripts eating away at your CPU like an SER, or it can be caused by high GPU usage, which is caused by high brick or voxel counts, which can only seem to be found in the scenery, and all the buses seem fine in this area. Ammanford definitely needs some more optimisation, but it's fine compared to a few games for the size of it. Ammanford scores 7 out of 10 in this category. Overall, Ammanford v4 is a well built and good quality game to hop onto. Quite a few of the developers are well dedicated to the game, alongside all the outside help the game gets. The developers are obviously looking into the quality as a way of going ahead into the future, and I'm excited for what is yet to come for this game. The second game I'll be reviewing today is Apsley. Apsley is a well established game with a sizable map. It hasn't really had many updates recently, although there is one large one in the works at the moment, but it keeps itself as quite an active game, which includes some decent operators. Again, I'll be first talking about the scenery. Apsley doesn't really have the best of scenery. Decal spam is prevalent in most places in the map, but aren't in the countryside like parts of the map. I personally am not too keen on this aspect of the game, and it just makes the game seem rushed, even though the road network and operators are pretty nice in comparison to it. I would have really liked to see an improvement to Apsley in this area of the game. Apsley scores a measly 5 out of 10 for this, as it is really behind compared to other games at the moment. Apsley's teaming UI is something that makes me wonder what the scripter was thinking when they were coding it. The actual design of the UI is alright, but the coding makes the UI wait until the game's fully loaded in, which takes a good few minutes before working, which makes many players confused of why it doesn't want to work. It also shows up on startup and hasn't been scripted to hide the chat or anything, which makes it messy, especially when everything's still loading in. Not to mention the fact there is no back button if you accidentally press the shop or credits, so you need to rejoin to actually play the game if you do that. The game also uses what I think is one oversized information banner, for which has been phased out in the community for the most part, and lead to a feeling of an old and outdated game. This is why Apsley scores another 5 out of 10. Bus-wise, quality is pretty decent in Apsley. There is a wide variety of well-built buses from groups such as Riva Connecting Roblox, First Group, Stagecoach Group UK and Transdev Group UK. Their quality is similar to Ammanford, and the only thing that this section is dragged down is knock-on effect from the scenery. I'll be giving Apsley a 7 out of 10 for quality. Optimization on Apsley is alright, but this is on an under-detailed decal spam game. I only normally clock at around 45 to 50 FPS at spawn once fully loaded in, which is okay, but I do know that the buses inside the game aren't too well reduced, so on a full server I wouldn't be surprised if it was much lower. The buses drag down this part of Apsley optimization to a 6 out of 10. At the end of the day, Apsley is an okay game with all right operators, but the scenery in the main city area is appalling and in real need of a clean-up to be more up to standard for newer villages and towns surrounding it. The game also needs to get the UI either re-scripted or completely rebuilt, as it seems rushed and badly scripted. The game runs alright, but keeping a low brick count is no excuse for underdone scenery. I would hope to see the scenery redone and decal spam removed from the game, as it would make the game look a lot less bland and low quality, as there was obviously a lot of effort put into it. I think it's pretty obvious that you cannot review UK bus games without looking at Canterbury at some point, as it is such a major game in the community and has been around for so long. The game certainly stands high with its player count and with some well-built buses found in all operators. The scenery in Canterbury is okay for the most part. Although the use of decals are present, they aren't identical ones spammed around the map, and there are some well-made brick houses around. The road network is well made and the bridges are pretty good, but there are a few empty patches around the map which need fixing. Canterbury scores a 7 out of 10 for scenery. Canterbury's UI is very lightweight and hopelessly simplified in a way. There is a small info banner at the top and the low effort teaming UI on the left. Despite the seemingly lack of effort put in, I'm giving a bonus points to the fact you can use an alt key to hide all the UIs. Canterbury scores a 6 out of 10. Time to talk about the quality of the game. The buses in Canterbury are for the most part well built, and quite a few are in fact curved in Blender, which is a plus. The game as a whole is decent quality for its size, but there are of course some places which need improvement. Canterbury scores an 8 out of 10 for quality. Although the game is a decent quality, the buses have quite high try counts in some places, and some of the areas aren't exactly the best for the casual player. I usually hang around the 45 to 50s at the bus station, FPS wise, on a decently sized server. I'll give Canterbury a 7 out of 10 for optimization, as the brick count isn't too bad and I find it alright to play. Overall, Canterbury is a game with decent operators and an okay map. I'm aware Canterbury is due a big update and I look forward to seeing how it's improved in its current shortfalls. Leeshire is a well-known game in the community which hosts a well-built map and decent buses to drive in all operators. It is an active and well-established game and is in active development. The scenery in Leeshire is well polished for the most part, with a very small amount of gaps appearing in the map. It features plenty of well-built houses and buildings. The only real thing I have against the scenery in this map is some of the fields aren't too detailed all that much, and places like Sainsbury's and Parker Road are really bland. Leeshire scores an 8 out of 10 for scenery. The UI in Leeshire isn't great. It's just a teaming UI which looks like it had some effort put into it, but it's really quite bland. It feels a bit like Canterbury and the current Ammanford one, so I'll give it a same score in this area, a 6 out of 10. The general quality in Leeshire is pretty decent, with the scenery being great for the most part and the buses being mostly well built. One of the only things dragging it down is the oversized and underdone UI. There is of course the odd outlier, and I'm going to say some of the buses could do with different proportions and smoothing. I'll award Leeshire an 8 out of 10 for quality. Optimization in Leeshire is alright, with the scenery being alright brick count wise, but the buses could do a little touching up in some places. I don't really have a lot to say for Leeshire in this part, so I'll give it an 8 out of 10. In conclusion, Leeshire is a great game to play which offers a decent amount of routes on a decently sized map with decent scenery. The operators all host good buses and they are all set up with well coded and designed tech. I've tried to be as unbiased as possible for this bit, as I do also dev for Leeshire and Stagecoach itself, but the scores are fine, but what I've said might be overboard in your opinion if you decide to play the game. Ostend as a Roblox game is dead and left out. I can only access the game as I'm currently ranked as a developer and adventurer who host the game. Despite all this, I'll be reviewing it anyway, as it used to be a well played and all rightly known game. The game has very patchy scenery which is really spaced out and features random built up areas with no real build ups to them. The road network is pretty neat and well done, but the lack of scenery doesn't do it justice. Because of this, Ostend receives a 6 out of 10 for scenery. The UI in Ostend is just your basic standard teening UI. I don't really have much to say about it, as it's mostly already been said earlier in this video. Ostend will receive the standard 6 out of 10 for this. The quality of buses in Ostend is about as good as the map itself. Some of the buses are quite outdated, as you'd expect on an abandoned game like this, such as the ones found in TM Travel, which are really quite old now. One of the new ones I've found in Go North West, but yeah, they only have one bus on Ostend, and I don't really expect anything else to be added. I'm not too impressed with how this game has aged. The scenery, where it is actually decent, but there isn't enough of it. I'll be giving Ostend another 6 out of 10 for its quality. Moving on to the optimization now. The game isn't the best brick reduction wise, but it doesn't lag too much as everything is so spaced out and bland. I'll go by the fact that you probably won't lag in this game, or very little at the most, and give it a 7 out of 10 for its optimization. In the end, I'm sad to see Ostend be as dead and outdated as this. I used to really enjoy this game, and I don't like how the group has left this game abandoned and desolate. It is obvious the game was worked hard on, and now all that hard work has just been left to dust, as the owning group, Adventurer, runs a very low service in Ammanford, but they're just dedicated to Ammanford now. Now onto the final game of this comparison. Swansea is a Roblox game with a very rickety history, and has been through many ups and downs in its lifetime. I'm not going to say much about this game as I'm starting to run out of time for today, and there isn't much to talk about this game. It is the same as Ostend for the most part. The good thing about Swansea is that its free drive offers some decent buses despite how laggy they are. It's now time to wrap up this episode. I've enjoyed reviewing all these games, and this script took hella ages to make, and I'm getting really sick and tired of making this now. I'll leave you off with these scores for today. Coming in joint first place are Ammanford and Leeshire, both scoring 30 points. Both these games really show how far this community has come as of recently, and over their existence, and I'm happy to say they have come first. Coming in second is Canterbury with 28 points. Canterbury is probably one of the most active of the lot, and is a well managed and done game. I don't really know how to finish your sentence, I'll just whisper this. In third place we have Ostend scoring 25 points. Coming after that is Swansea, 24 points. Personally, I'm not sure how this game got to be 5th place considering how active it is, but in 5th place is Apsley. Despite having some decent buses in the game, that one's okay. The game really falls behind with its scenery and UI. The game is stuck at the past with its decal spam, and I'm quite unimpressed to see this in 2020. Thank you for watching this video. This took too long to make, and I'd prefer if you could make it my while by sharing, liking and subscribing this one. See ya!